We recently talked about this in a previous video. It was basically a breakdown from Hedera talking about how many big moves they made in June. Now, you might be wondering, Nick, why are you bringing this back up? Why are you repeating this? I'm bringing it back up because we recently just witnessed some huge moves from Hedera, and it's at a time where the market is starting to heat up again and altcoins are starting to steal the show a bit. This is a crucial time. It is a crucial time to be focused on what these projects are doing. Why? Because as altcoins start to gain momentum and strength against Bitcoin, it leads us to that big part of the cycle that everyone has been waiting for and everyone thinks is not going to happen. And do I have to say it? Alt season. Yes. This is a crucial time to focus on altcoins like Hedera that are making a lot of noise, making a lot of moves, because they will become some of the bigger winners in the alt season phase of the cycle. Now, we talked about all of the big moves happening in June, right? There was a substantial amount of announcements, and Hedera did it again. 1 week into July, and we have over here from Zepsi, okay? 1 week on Hedera. Australia's central bank project, Acacia. Grayscale adds HBAR to the GSC fund. Kevin O'Leary says HBAR most undervalued crypto project. Kraken FX HBAR listing. India's first state carbon bank. You can't make this stuff up. This is what blue chip projects look like. This is what projects that skyrocket in value during alt season and completely shock everyone. This is exactly what they look like. I remember it specifically with a few projects back in 2021. The Graph was one. Polygon was another one. Telcoin was another. There's a few. And it almost seemed like they came out of nowhere. But that's because a lot of people were not actually focused on those projects up until the point where the price action just completely melted people's faces and shocked everyone. Hedera is in that same position right now, where we are seeing some of the biggest announcements happening around Hedera, some of the biggest moves happening around Hedera, and we're now hearing from prominent names like Kevin O'Leary saying that he believes HBAR is the most undervalued crypto project. Now, do I put a lot of weight behind Kevin O'Leary's, words? Not exactly, but still, it's very good to hear that, other people are aligned with us, because I do believe that HBAR is probably one of the most undervalued crypto projects in the space. But let's actually go over a few of these announcements. Let's actually start off with the Australia Central Bank project. So we have from Hedera Foundation, we're excited to see Hedera join Project Acacia, led by RBA Info, Australia Central Bank, and the DFCRC. Now, we already know that Hedera has been working with RBA for quite some time. We talked about it back in, I want to say 2022, 2023 as well. And it's always been something to really kind of look back on. Now, this is where they will explore how digital money like stablecoins can support the development of Australian wholesale tokenized asset markets. Again, we already know about the Australian digital dollar. If we actually go to Hedera Foundation's X account, that just got announced on June 18th, if you guys did miss it. They're excited to announce the Australian digital dollar stablecoin. It has officially launched on the Hedera network. This was on June 18th. Now let's go back to this announcement. So we have Project Acacia, RBA, and DFCRC announced chosen industry participants, and ASIC provides regulatory relief for tokenized asset settlement research project. Now, this is a very big update from, RBA and from just the, Australian market itself. This is showing us that stablecoins are just as big as we thought. And tokenization just continues to become a much bigger topic of discussion as well from the big names. We're not talking about inside of crypto. No, we're talking about outside of crypto as well, with central banks and major financial giants. Now, they did explore 24 innovative use cases from a diverse range of organizations ranging from local fintechs to major banks. They have been conditionally selected for this next stage of the project. There will be 19 pilot use cases, which will involve real money and real asset transactions, and 5 proof of concept use cases involving simulated transactions. The use cases involve a range of asset classes, including fixed income, private markets, trade receivables, and carbon credits. Proposed settlement assets for the use cases include stablecoins, bank deposit tokens, and pilot wholesale central bank digital currencies, as well as new ways of using banks' existing exchange settlement accounts at the RBA. And issuance of pilot wholesale CBDC for testing use cases will occur on a range of private and public permission DLT platforms, including Hedera, Red Belly Network, R3 Corda, Canvas Connect, and other EVM compatible networks. So this is very exciting to see. Now, here are the next steps. So the testing of use cases will occur over the next 6 months, with a report on the findings from the project expected to be published in the first quarter of 2026. The findings of this next stage of the project will support the RBA's ongoing research into how innovation in the financial system can best support the Australian economy in the digital age. Lead use case participants, and here we have all of the big players. What's crazy is Australian Payments Plus, they're a GC member of Hedera's. There's a lot of big banks here, a lot of big fintech players as well. Fireblocks is a big prominent name in crypto. Again, more major banks. And overall, also, by the way, Not Centralized is also a partner of Hedera's. They've been working with Hedera on a lot of things. But overall, this is a stacked list of participants around this. And we have here, ensuring that Australia's payments and monetary arrangements are fit for purpose in the digital age is a strategic priority for the RBA and the Payment System Board. Project Acacia represents an opportunity for further collaborative exploration on tokenized asset markets and the future of money by the public and private sectors in Australia. The use cases selected in this project will help us to better understand how innovations in central bank and private digital money, alongside payments infrastructure, might help to uplift the functioning of wholesale financial markets in Australia. We thank all interested parties for their efforts in Project Acacia to date and look forward to reporting back on the findings that will emerge over the remainder of the project. Of course, there's just a few other quotes down here, but at the end of the day, the key thing to actually look at here is that we are now starting to see the markets really open up to tapping into public DLTs, private DLTs, and just really engaging with this technology. And by the way, if we look down on the bottom, we have recent research suggests that potential economic gains in markets and cross-border payments could be in the order of 19 billion Australian dollars per year. Project Acacia is a significant step towards realizing these gains by providing evidence on the forms of money and settlement models that best enable tokenized RWA markets. And we already know that Hedera has tapped in on a few major use cases already around tokenization. Also, the stablecoin studio is perfect for something like this. We don't know how it's going to be utilized, but we already know that Hedera is working with the Reserve Bank of Australia, and this is a huge one for the central bank to be tapping into, just utilizing public DLTs like Hedera as well. And it also gives us that confidence behind how big of a name Hedera is becoming, especially in the Australian market. They've always been a huge name in the Australian market since going all the way back to like 2021. Now, on top of that, we did see India's first state carbon bank to be built on Hedera as well. This is very exciting. This got originally posted by Generation Infinity. The Hashgraph Group and the government of Maharashtra unveil India's first state carbon bank, bringing ESG finance to rural India and setting a new benchmark for digital public infrastructure. So in the span of just 2 days, 48 hours, between these two announcements, we see two major developments in two completely different areas in the world around banks. This is very exciting stuff. Now, at the end of the day, when we also think about Hedera, we're also looking at AI. And more recently, we did have Lehman Baird talking about AI and how Hedera is also crucial for this. AI provenance is imperative. It's critical to have trusted data. Immutable records on Hedera is a key component. And this got posted by Patches. We have great snippet of Lehman Baird at Consensus 2026, explaining why data attestation and provenance is imperative for the future of AI. Check this out.
You can see that.
Go first.
This is such a great question. Every time someone's going to build on Hedera, my first question to them is,
do you really need a blockchain? Can you just use a database? What do you really need? Is a digital signature enough for you? And the answer is yes, AI does need decentralization. And here's what the problem is. AI right now can do good or bad things. It can lie, it can be racist, it can be biased in various ways, it can be trained with IP that is infringing on someone else's IP rights, it can be infringing on privacy. How do we avoid that and still get all the benefits of AI? And what you have to look at is the provenance of the data. Where did the data come from that trained this AI? And so you want to be able to say, here's the data, here's the model that came from the data. But how do you know that this data was used to make this model? So what we have are companies like Equity Lab. Equity Lab is working on Hedera, and what they do is they have a deal with Intel and NVIDIA. So they announced this. Intel and NVIDIA are working with Equity Lab, and the three of them are working together so that the chip itself that is doing the training, that is ingesting this data and spitting out a model, can digitally sign it and say, yes, I attest, I created this model from this data. Great. So now we have signatures, we can record those immutably forever, so you know on what date it happened. But it isn't just that. You will often use data to create a model, and then you use more data to create another model, and then you use maybe two models and you distill them into a single model and use more data to train that. You end up with this whole tree of your history. Your provenance is very complicated. It's not just one data set. And so they can track the entire tree, and they can track the version control of all this tree, so that when you suddenly discover, oh no, the model I've built my company on is infringing on IP and I can't use it anymore, you know exactly how far back to roll back. And so blockchain, Hedera is used, and in any ledger, but Hedera is doing this so that you can track immutably the entire history, including permissioning. Did the users say, yes, you may use my data? And did the users on a certain date said, no, you must stop using my data? We have this immutable record you can never change that, yes, from this date to this date, we had permission. So things we did during that period were legal, but you can't do it after that date. All of this, you need decentralization for. So yes, decentralization is critical to getting to that future that is not the matrix, but is what we want.
And yeah, I mean, listen, we've always talked about how AI needs those safeguards in place, and Hedera is the perfect suited DLT for all of this. I mean, they've had tracking and tracing built into Hedera since going back to inception, and it's always been a feature of Hedera's. It's always been something that they have been utilizing to support, specific use cases, and this is perfect for AI. And that's also why they launched the AI Studio. On top of that, RWA tokenization. Trade Talks recently had Hedera on this discussion. This was Trade Talks, and this was talking about stablecoins, tokenization, and innovative payment solutions are fundamentally evolving the roles played by both traditional and decentralized finance. And of course, we do have over here Gregory L. Bell discussing why Hedera is the ideal protocol for tokenized securities, which are subject to strict rules. Big shout out to CoinMen, the HBAR for this. We have regulatory and OFAC compliance, AML, and KYC embedded into the token standard. Hashgraph fair ordering prevents front running as well. Check it out.
To your point, we talk a lot about Hedera under the hood, right? To the extent that you can abstract that layer away, but it's still going to be securities, and we've seen this from the the SEC that tokenized securities still have to adhere to securities law, and so we put in a lot of thought within the Hedera ecosystem around ensuring that regulatory and OFAC compliance exists, that there is KYC and AML compliance embedded within the token standards, that you don't have the front-running risk that exists within most blockchains where you're able to pay a little bit more gas to step in front of another party. If that's a securities transaction, that's a really big issue for tokenized infrastructure. And so we've been within the Hedera Foundation actively engaging with a lot of securities market participants to bring some of those securities tokens and debt products on chain because they fit so well within the requirements that are designed to protect consumers ultimately. To your point, we talk.
And this is also why Hedera has been inking so many tokenization partnerships over the years. I mean, today alone, we know that there is probably about 10 or 20 different tokenization use cases launching on Hedera. I have yet to actually see everything get tracked and traced from rwa.xyz, but I am keeping a close eye on that. But at the end of the day, listen, there's so much going on here there's still a lot that Hedera is capable of doing, and I do believe that they're going to ink some major partnerships this year for the remainder of the next roughly 6 months or so. And when we think about what's going on around Hedera, even currently, I mean, these announcements every single week, it feels as if it's a huge celebration for Hedera, but it's just getting so normal at this point that it doesn't have the same effect, right? Like these announcements in a month for Hedera back in 2021 would have been huge. This week would have been huge. Today, well, nobody really cares. They don't get that same excited effect because everyone just wants to look at price action. And again, I understand. I really do understand it fully, but I want you guys to realize that we will get there, right? We will get to that point where price action is hitting HBAR in a huge way. And all of this will matter. That's why it's so crucial to focus on this right now. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.